Hello, everybody. This is Ahmed, and this is another episode of the Breakout podcast here at the School of Advanced Studies in Tumen. And today we have here with us Sofya. Thanks so much, Sofya, for coming in today. Yeah, finally, right? Yes. And with Sonia, we are going to be discussing a question, a difficult one, and it is, who needs you?
Anyway.
Yes. Anyway. All right. So, where do you want to start, actually?
Well, we can think of whether there is an actual being, like somebody who needs you, and that's why you live for them. I don't know, someone like your parents, maybe your professors. For example, you need to write your thesis, and they need you to write your thesis, but actually that's only for you. But anyway, and somebody else maybe. Who do you think needs you anyway?
Me?
Yeah.
No, actually, I have a question.
Okay.
All right, and I didn't want to tell you to ask you this question beforehand. Is that when you sent to me this question about who needs you anyway, I was actually interested is that you wrote who instead of what.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe because sometimes I feel. Okay, so as we discussed it before coming in today, is that we said that who needs you anyway, it might be perceived as the motivation for you to simply continue on living. Yeah, right? So it's like the drive force to live, maybe, okay? But sometimes I feel like we are continuing on living is because of things, objects. It's what needs me. It's my dream. It's not a person. It's my dream. It's my motivation, stuff like that. And I was really interested to ask you, why did you choose who and not what needs you?
Well, for me personally, I don't live for myself, I think. It's more like I'm here because I'm able to do something, but just doing something for myself, it feels for me personally is not enough. But because I live in this society, let's call it whatever that is, I feel like, well, if we're able to help each other to do something to achieve our needs, to achieve our goals, those what, so to say, and if I'm able to help people with that, I am somewhat going in the right direction of this life, so to say. So it's interesting that you brought what question, because when you said the dreams or whatever, the goals, it's still about you. It's not like it's part of you. It's still something about yourself primarily. Something hedonistic about this, probably.
Yeah, it's just because sometimes these things about, sometimes people, for example, they lose motivation in continuing living or doing whatever they are doing, and sometimes they have like a moment of awakening. And usually it is what? Like they say, right now I am dedicating my life to that thing, all right? Or this thing. And usually people are not in the pictures, right, of this dedication. Is that, and that makes us like, I don't know, we create for ourselves a vocation in a sense. Is that we'll be like, well, that's my vocation right now. Finally, I found it. So my vocation does not depend on people, but it depends on the message that I would like to spread around across my life, right? For example, you say, well, my vocation is to help the environment or whatever, to do something about this ecological crisis, as they say, right? So, and then it's not anymore it's not anymore about people, but rather it's about the thing that in front of you. It might be big thing, right? Like the nature, all right? Or might be very small thing, like something that happens in your local community. And then you find the reason here for you to simply keep improving, developing, and work on yourself, and so on and so forth. Learning a new language, learning new thing, developing a skill, and all of that. But you found the what. And I find this, I mean, when we say what needs you, I find it a little bit easier because as you actually very acutely here noticed, is that it starts with you, right? Because I can control that, right? Yeah. But about who needs you, it's a little bit tricky.
You know, when you mentioned this kind of vocation, it gets complicated when the vocation becomes helping people. When you find your way of actually contributing to the goods of people, and it's not about not caring about yourself at this, in this moment, but understanding that there's more than me existing somewhere here around me that I'm able to contribute to and do something good, therefore. And then this what simultaneously becomes who needs you, sort of. And maybe that's my kind of perception of this.
I don't know. I feel like actually so far, so we have been, I don't know, we have been talking right now for 5 minutes, for example, all right? And despite that the question is kind of existential one, all right, and they can bring to you kind of, I don't know, bad emotions, it seems that it's elevating at the same time. It's like, oh yeah, who needs me? A lot of things, right? And a lot of people. But I don't know. Let's discuss this dark side of this question.
Well, if you're thinking about dark side being that the opposite, well, if you go deeper into this, that nobody needs you actually, and no object whatsoever needs you, like you bought coffee machine, for example, and you think that it needs you, but actually it may work for some time on its own, and it doesn't need you. You know, they have this automatic feature of self-cleaning, do stuff on their own. Your PC runs itself just to get the updates. It doesn't need you at that moment. Only you click the button, okay, it does its own thing, right? So what?
But also it can need to ask the question, who are you? In order for people to need you, right? Yes. So it's like, well, okay, so who needs me? Okay, who am I first? Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Yeah, but okay, but let's go back like 2 steps. All right. When you said parents, professors, and we can then name other people. What do you think that maybe the common features that you need to have, or a person that should have, in order for this person to feel that professors and parents are in need of them? Or is there any even common feature?
Yeah, I would say, well, let's say from a bad perspective, from a dark side of this, you kind of don't have this, you kind of lose agency at this point. If you only set this need of existence onto something else, onto someone else, that, oh, I need to do this because there's this parent waiting for me, there's mother waiting for me to come back to my hometown, for example, and that's why I only do this just for the sake of other person to be fulfilled. If I do this only for the professor, just because, well, professor likes my topic and that's why I keep doing it, but actually I don't, well, then it gets a bit sad, because then what is your need? What do you see as your need in this anyway? Like, if you don't, then there needs to be some kind of self-reflexivity in this case. If you are feeling that what you're doing has some kind of servants of yourself in the first place, and then you understand, oh, well, it helps me and actually it helps other person too, well, that's pretty cool. We're kind of saving both positions here, kind of.
So you are saying that in this situation we must have like a win-win position?
Can you have it though? Because I may describe a really idealistic picture.
Yeah.
Because you cannot serve both needs at the same time usually. Something may get kind of, I don't know, taken off just because, well, you will kind of become a victim of your own needs for the sake of other needs. It's a question of priority then. If you're setting your needs in the first place and the other needs as the second, then something gets more fulfilled than whatever you put as the second, third position.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, but the problem is that the word victim here is a little bit of a strong word. Yeah, right. So we don't want to victimize ourselves, right? But at the same time, we need to compromise with the needs of others to become needed in the same. But also about this thing is that who needs you anyway. It depends. I think it depends so much on how much you can be attractive to others. And I don't mean about the look. I'm speaking about the skills. I mean the competencies. We're speaking with Nastia, for example, about this idea of basic needs of the human being, and she was mentioning that the competencies and relatedness, and there was a third one. I think it was agency. I don't remember. Anyway, and this is the thing, is that the competencies, right? That what kind of competencies you should have, all right? You simply, I mean, they are part of your character, so that people can see you as an attractive kind of. It's not. Let's forget about like attractive human being in terms of competencies, all right? Because it's a little bit difficult here to make yourself that way.
So then the question appears, are you able to fulfill those competencies in the way that you become, to some extent, this attractive, so people will see that there is a need for you then to exist, like around them, do something with them, etc. It's like you're chasing something that has no end seemingly, because it's like Zeno's paradox, you know? When you try to reach the end point with the arrow, and if you try to divide the direction into like several parts, you will come to instead of from A to B, there's a point C, you come to C first, but then to D. And so basically Zeno says that's impossible to come to the end point. So are you able to reach this final point of having all the competencies that are needed in order to have this attractiveness? Because then the idea of attractiveness, it also changes, right? Like you have different perception of who is needed in this modern contemporary world anyway.
Yeah, and actually that's actually there is a little bit of a pressure here. You know why? It's because I think that it's not only about self-awareness, that you need to understand what are you actually capable of in order for other people to be able, like, well, I think we need you in this regard because we cannot, for example, rely on other person except you, all right, in this thing. But it doesn't only come from this fact that you can be self-aware about, I mean, of what you are capable of, but also of the environment that you are in. For example, I don't know, it's like I need to be not a good football player where they play chess, for example, right? I mean, here they do not fit together. So I read the environment in the wrong way. Okay, so in this regard, the competency, should people then be intelligent enough so actually to be able to assess the environment that they are in, so that based on this environment they need to develop these competencies that will actually fit and become then attractive to the people within this environment. But I am afraid at the same time is that when we are developing for ourselves, I would be like, okay, I'm self-aware right now, for example, all right? So not me. I mean, somebody would say, I'm self-aware right now. And also I'm aware of the environment that I'm in. This environment needs a person who knows how to write well. I will develop my writing skill, all right? But does it mean that will I be attractive in another environment that doesn't need writing skill? I don't believe that. No, I mean, I think that writing skill is needed everywhere, but just let's put it in just a hypothetical situation. Do you think that here there is some sort of transforming of competencies or skills to another environment? I don't know.
Well, there's this weird saying, I don't know, like, if there is something that needs you, they will use you, basically. Like whatever there is, the place that you fit in, then it works well then.
Yeah.
And in this case, well, as every environment, let's say, it's all different. You can take different communities and there are different, so to say, characteristics that you need to have in order to fit into that community, so to say. And it's always changing, and if you want to fit in that one particular, so to say, community, then if you have all the needed characteristics, well, there you have it. You will be fitted in. But in the other environment, probably you will not be able to. And maybe now there is this need actually to be more flexible and to not just be static boy or girl or non-binary, etc. So in order to fit in again, sort of, because there is always this need to fit in. We exist, always in this world to fit in.
Yeah, and that's actually, I was thinking about that, is that right now, don't you think like this idea of flexibility, right? Is it because we know that we are going to be changing environments, so we need to have some sort of a universal skill, all right? And that's actually problematic to me. I mean, I don't like this idea of universality in just let's have everything universal. Is why? Is because it kinda sheds a shadow over the uniqueness of environments. Okay, so for example, let's say that you interview a person or you do something, you are going to work with that person or that person, and then they will say, well, I'm flexible, I can do too many things. How is that different then from the 100 people that we are interviewing and all of them are saying we are flexible? I mean, the uniqueness of the person and the uniqueness of the environment a little bit gets here, I don't know, like compromised in a way, is that by having these universal competencies. And then you are like, okay, well, all of them are flexible, so what actually makes them unique or special to have them in this environment, right? In order to be able to need them, all right? If I have 100 person here are flexible, why should I pick this number 20, not number 42? All right. So in this regard, I feel like there is this heavy pressure on having a unique personality, all right, and also creating a unique environment, all right, because okay, so
in this case, so we can all hear about, for example, having soft skills is a must-have nowadays.
Yeah,
this is the general trend now that I was thinking of while you were speaking about some universal skills. And basically, if you look at, I don't know, a headhunter, whatever, they will all be thinking to add or already adding all those weird soft skills, whatever, that they may also not understand what the hell that may mean, right? And so, like, and each person comes to this company and they say, oh yes, I actually have these soft skills. So what are you actually having? That's the question. Because, well, are there criteria for having soft skills? Is there a leverage for those soft skills, whether you have them or not? Because, well, that's just weird to have it a certain, like, an ultimate trend now to have specifically. And this may affect you having a job, having anything to do with everything, basically. It determines your life.
I mean, so we are talking about the attractiveness of the person in terms of competencies, right? Just to remind ourselves of that. Okay, and this is actually the very kind of the very sad thing about everything is that you speak with these people, you do. I mean, you read CVs, you check out them, and all of that. All of them, all of a sudden, they know how to work in groups. Wow, thanks. All of them, all of the sudden, are flexible. All of them, all of the sudden, are what else? Good at communicating with people. And then when you sit down with the person, is that you find that it's a little bit weird to talk with this person who claims to be able to work in groups, to communicate well with others, and then you see that they are having a problem even articulating and expressing something about themselves, all right? And I think that this is the problem, is that because this universality of skills, all right, makes everybody reach a certain level, all right, we are training people to become flexible in order to make them attractive to others, okay? But then we are training them to become flexible. We reach a certain level, and after this level, all right, they are there. That's it. And but who can even work on this flexibility afterwards, or communication or group work and so on and so forth. All right, that's of course under the question here. And it makes it really difficult for anybody to understand what is unique in this person.
Yes, I just want to say that this flexibility then, flexibility in this case kind of presupposes your ability to change or shift in kind of your own way. So you're able to fit in the environment that is flexible in exchange in your own unique way. And you're able to respond to it. But then with this flexibility being an ultimate trend, what is uniqueness in this case? Who is unique again?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And then you are asking the question, right? So we reached the point in 2000. So in 2050, all of us are flexible. So who needs you? Nobody will need flexible people anymore. I mean, all of us are flexible. What is plus over that? And also, I don't think that we are talking about something that is, oh, you're supposed to be a superhuman or something like that. But it's just the idea of who needs you is that you need to be yourself, I think. And in order to be yourself, you need to understand what you are good at, what you are weak at, and what you are really bad at. And you need to ask yourself whether you would like to invest your time, energy, attention, and so on and so forth, patient commitment, and all of that in order to develop the weak part, or to develop a completely new part. All right. And you are also keep working on the good things that you are good at right now. And I feel like not everybody is really asking themselves the difficult question, is that who am I? I mean, to begin with. Seriously, every time we hear this stuff that people think of themselves more than they supposed to be thinking of themselves, right? You find these people who are like, I'm amazing. And you know that they are not. Seriously. And it comes to because it's not that they are self-aware at all.
Are
Really?
they a thinking thing?
Yeah, they are a thinking thing, right? But yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I always feel like, what is this? What is happening? I mean, why nobody is asking the difficult question?
But we can think of it like from different perspective, like having, so to say, the self, knowing your weak spots, your good spots. You're able to sell yourself to the world, let's say like that, in the way that you are this unique being, right? But then it's really hard to trace this kind of flexibility only in terms of like human beings showing these A, B, C, D states where they have already developed. I think more important thing is to see in the intervals what is happening with the human being. And I think in this way you may kind of trace and see what is it that is actually changing in this self, and whether there is any self to begin with. Yeah. It's this is more like the idea of this is Henry Bergson's idea of why we should not look at evolution from discrete species developing, because we cannot see we cannot trace the development only in those concrete from A to B to C to D states. We don't need to look and try to describe those states and just say, oh, that's the difference, so that's where development is, right? But that's not the case. You should see in the intervals between A, B, and then you see this pass together, A plus B, and then see whether this next stage, C, so to say, has any relevance to what happened before. So again, this is the past and the present thing. You're always accumulating whatever has happened with you in the past, and you bring it to the present all the time.
That's a very good, all right, because actually this resonates with an idea about that we're supposed not to act quickly unless we are aware of the old world order. And then based on the old world order, the knowledges we get, we will act later geared by knowledge of the old simply order. And then we can move forward. We can then highlight the problems. And then we understand what we need to be done. I mean, what needs to be done in certain areas after learning about that. And if I'm not mistaken, that Hannah Arendt was speaking about the idea of being stuck in the between the past and future. And yeah, so she's saying is that we get born, we have no idea about what is happening in the world. We are simply, I mean, we are kids, right? And we need to be taught about the world. We need to be introduced to the ideas before we act upon anything. The goal of every adult is to teach everybody, to pass on the generational knowledge to others. And based on this generational knowledge, we will develop a certain kind of skill, help us be aware of the environment that we are in. And then based on that, with self-reflection, with the knowledge that we get from older generations, and then our own curiosity, all right, or our pursuit of knowledge, or our thrive for whatever knowledge and learning, we will be able to make judgments on, all right, the old world, and then we can understand what we are going to be doing next. But she's saying that this is a difficult stage because we can be stuck between the past and future in this regard. And she calls it the paradox of natality. Is that we are born with this energy that we would like to change and become attractive and become and be needed everywhere, but we are held back, all right? Our passion, our energy is being held back, right? Because we are ignorant of the world that in front of us. Or we can be doing something naive, all right? Or we can act naively in this regard. That's at least her opinion in this area. And but this is so difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned from between the past and the future. So there's, as I understood, there's this ability that you acquire after being reflective upon the past, so you're able to, so to say, see the future in, let's quote unquote,
or at least, I don't know,
but
anticipate.
Are we able to actually calculate such stuff? Because again, this goes back to Bergson, where he says that, let's imagine supercomputer. And he was pretty much not for his time period saying this stuff. This is a book from 1902, I think, and he was saying stuff about supercomputers, which is, let's say, more or less more to our time. And he was saying that, okay, let's imagine having supercomputer being given all the data that has happened, giving this supercomputer all those A, B, C, D stages, those development stages, and giving all this data to this supercomputer. And will it be able to calculate what will happen in the point E, I, Z, whatever, any point? But do we actually need to calculate those points if we need to look at the intervals in between, what is actually happening? But this is a more complicated matter because, mostly we do not trace all the things from the past to us. Human memory and stuff is a bit, let's say, not so good, sort of.
Well, in Hannah Arendt's idea is that we're supposed to have some sort of a social the stratification of society, all right, supposed to happen or supposed to take the shape of there are these older generations, all right, and there are these younger generations, the ones who have this passion of changing the world or articulating problems and so on and so forth. She tries to pitch the idea that these older generations supposed to be the authoritarian ones. I have a problem with this idea, is because once you become this, in a sense is that I'm older than you. This is the classic argument that you have with your parent, right? When you say, why are you doing that? What are you doing here? Why aren't you doing this? They tell you, I know better, right? And it kind of like sounds like, I understand that sounds very kind of childish, but I mean, not childish, but sounds like kind of parentish thing. But that's actually Hannah Arendt's argument. It's that she thinks that these younger generations should be under the authority of the older ones. Because why? Is because the younger ones do not know anything about the world. I have a problem in this one because it doesn't give the younger generations the specific knowledge for them to be able on their own to articulate the problems. All right. I mean, it's not the problems of the world, but the problems of you yourself, right? Because you are being told what you're supposed to be doing, and when are you going to ask the question? And that's actually that jumps to the question about why aren't we asking who we are? Or I mean, who are we? I mean, in the entire situation here, who are we? It's because we have been told who we are, and we stopped asking ourselves. It's everybody's telling us we're supposed to be this person, we're supposed to be that person. When guests come, we're supposed to act in that way in order to be needed. All right, how I'm gonna be needed? I'm gonna bring, I don't know, tea for the guests or something like that. I mean, in the school you're supposed to act in this way, in the outside you're supposed to act in this way, and with your friends you're supposed to act in a different way, right? And we are not asking the question who are we, is because we have been told who.
Not to think about it.
Yeah, we not to think about it. So don't think about it. You just act in this way.
So Hannah Arendt takes this sort of agency per se, like it takes away the agency.
I own from them. Yes, we're supposed to take the agency away from them. She's not saying that we're supposed to be there. I think she was just short-sighted in this. Is that she didn't. I don't think that she understood that she's gonna be taking the agency away from these younger generations, and the consequences are gonna be difficult, or at least what we're seeing, right? Is that we are like, oh, okay, so who needs you anyway? All right, it might be nobody, all right, and it might be everybody, okay, and that is difficult to determine whether I'm going to be in this situation. I mean, with these nobody or everybody, is because I don't know who am I in this regard. All right, why everybody needs me, but why nobody needs me, right? And then usually you say, well, because I am this or that or whatever, because nobody's telling you, all right? Because they stopped at a certain point. They stopped telling you how you're supposed to act. So the idea of self-reflection, I think it's supposed to start from a very young age. Yeah.
Well, it starts from this really, it's a childish question. Who do you want to be?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to become an astronaut? You want to become a fireman? You want to be whatever, a doctor, a nurse? That's this. It's a really childish question, because we usually always go back to this, like, well, I remember when once I wanted to become a nurse, a teacher, but where am I now? What am I doing right now? I am somewhere closer to being nurse. I'm an SAS. I am nowhere maybe closer to teacher perhaps, but we may never know. So I don't know. It's interesting that you brought this nobody needs me and everybody needs me, because, well, I think I am more on the side of us. There's the need to accept ourselves being nobody to begin with. This is on the basis of us not having this concrete ultimate self that is always here and there to stay. Like, I am Sofya, and some characteristics of Sofya that will never change. That's what makes me Sofya here in this exact room, and this will never disappear. And I kind of disagree with this idea, because, again, we go back to Bergson, where he says about intervals, and I could add that, well, we cannot ever achieve some ultimate knowledge of the world, because we're basically physically are not capable of doing so. Metzinger's idea, I will add one more thinker into this discussion. He thinks about ego tunnel. What he describes with this term is that physically we're not able to comprehend all the possible data coming to our, senses. So the fact that I see these colorful books, this is just my mind playing a big trick on me. They are not colorful. They have no color whatsoever. My brain just tries to create a model of this world in order for me to just accept it and take it in a more comfortable form. Remember, physics, school, the color doesn't exist. It's just all the waves and stuff, right? That's the truth. But our brain always tries to make an image of the world that we're taking as existing per se, right? And even consciousness, even what we take as ourselves, is always in this ego tunnel of perception. Whatever we're like, it's very, so to say, how do you call it? It takes really small chunks of data and it tries to do something with it. And because we're never able to achieve those ultimate chunks of knowledge, whatever happens in the world, I'm not ever able to complete the structure of self, the self, so to say. And that's why, because we're always always taking different chunks of data, it's always changing. Back to Bergson, he says, there is never the same sense of whatever I'm feeling. I may be happy now, I may be anxious right now sitting in front of the cameras, but it's never the same exact feeling because it happens on different past whatever has happened. So me feeling anxious now, for example, will be completely different because I've already had different experiences before, and this feeling of anxiety builds upon those feelings and not being some ultimate feeling of anxiety. And so we need to think of selves as being always something complex, changeable, always in the interval, but not those I am B, next year I will be C, then after I graduate I will be D, whatever, sort of like that. So I'm nobody right now.
Yes. Right. I feel actually we should end with that, is that we end with not who needs you in a way, but maybe how can you de-self yourself or unself yourself so to become nobody, but nobody in the sense of becoming a self-overcoming person, is that you understand that you can become a different person. And I don't know why, for some reason we have been coming back. I talked with Nikita about the idea of becoming. All right, and we were discussing this thing, is that we remove masks, we put another mask, and we're supposed actually to accept this fact, is that we are, in a sense, we are nobody, but it's not that we are nobody, because this mask that I am putting on and then removing it afterwards, it's still me with maybe enhancements, maybe a little bit of more bad things, maybe a little bit more of good things, but it's still me. But we should accept this fact, is that we can I like this one, de-self ourselves. So yeah. All right, I think actually we should end with this. Right?
De-self yourself.
Yeah, de-self yourself. So yeah, thanks so much, Sonia, really, for coming in today. Really, that was actually thoughtful. All right, so this was our talk for today. Please tune in for the next episode with me here in the Breakout and here at the School of Advanced Studies. This is like, subscribe, or comment, ask questions. You can actually write to Sonia if you want, anytime. But thanks so much, Sonia, and see you.